But yeah, absolutely. I think you need, whatever you coach, you need some practical experience. Now, a lot of people, when it comes to flexibility training, they think you have to be able to do the splits and do a back bend in which you're practically dislocating your spine in order to be a good coach. Not true at all. We look at some of the best boxing coaches in the world. Cus D'Amato wasn't a world champion, but he still had experience, he had good technique, and he could translate concepts to the student
Mhm.
so that they understood it and could implement it themselves. So yeah, I think people will just respect you more if you have the practical experience. It's all, you could say it's borderline fraudulent to say I'm a coach in this, but I have no experience. Right?
Yeah.
It's like learning to drive off your 6-year-old, you know,
Yeah.
nephew or something. Somebody who
Yeah.
has no experience. It's like, no, and especially in this day and age, where online training is prevalent. It's
Mm.
it's really come to the front thanks to the pandemic. But on the internet, people can pose as whoever they want to be. So I think if you're being a coach in any kind of realm, if you can demonstrate things, it just makes things a lot easier, and people have greater buy-in with you, and it establishes trust and rapport with the people you are trying to coach. But I don't think it means you have to have you know elite levels of flexibility at all.
Mm.
A fact about me that some people don't know is many moons ago, I had a very brief stint in the army after 9/11 and got injured. So that was a very, very short career change.
Wow.
But because of the injuries, they caught up with me over the years, and I eventually needed both hips replacing.
Wow.
Yeah, so after the surgery, I got my splits back. But because there was complications, I developed a chronic pain condition, which actually has robbed me of the ability to do splits right now.
Wow.
So in my current condition, I can't do the splits. I'm gaining it back. I've gotten back into training now that my condition is under control. The thing about flexibility is it's like anything, it's like strength, it fluctuates.
Mm.
And sometimes things will happen in life where they come along and they rob you of your capacities. Now, if my whole coaching identity was embedded in my ability to do the splits, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able
Wow.
to teach anything. And if you I think sometimes not being able to have mutant levels of flexibility, you're still a work in progress yourself, and you can document that change over time, adds authenticity to your coaching practice, and people, especially older adults who are struggling themselves, will align with that more, because many of the flexibility coaching programs you see out there are by people who have abnormally large ranges of motion because of the structure of their joints, or they have some connective tissue thing going on. We'd call them hypermobile.
Mm.
And they take advantage of that, and they say, do my program, because these are the stretches I did to get flexible. It's like, well, no, you've been training in dance since you were 2 years old.
Yeah.
That's why you're flexible. And these stretches are simply things you do to maintain or display your flexibility. But your 30-second leg behind the head pose isn't going to work for a guy who's in his 50s and just wants to improve a bit of hamstring flexibility.
Yeah,
you know
that's a really good point and an amazing. I didn't know that about you, and you've clearly just shared that the story of you going in the army and having both hips replaced. But I resonate with the injury side of it, and that for me. So for me, my left hip takes a huge amount of force through the sport cricket, and that it literally hinders your progression of trying to build that flexibility. However, if I hadn't been doing flexibility training, yoga, or anything to mitigate the damage that was being done, God knows where I'd be right now. My girlfriend literally asked me that last night. She was like, "What would happen if you didn't stretch?" I was like, I would honestly hate to think where I'd be right now. And
yeah
that it really does fluctuate, but the impact of injuries, I've had surgeries on knees, and I think that's such an important point, that you don't have to be this super bendy, flexible. That's
mm.
You don't know the history of that person, like you said,
yeah
and wherever you're, and it should only be looking at where your progress was, where you came from. Let's
yeah
say from a few weeks ago to where you are now, and then that's something to measure yourself on, rather than this whole process of I'm looking at someone on Instagram who's got 2,000 likes on a backbend that I'm never going to achieve. But at the same time, what practicability has that got for me as an athlete?